Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sweet Star Candle YouTube channel, and today I have a really fun video for you guys. I've made a compilation of all of my Halloween themed candles and wax melts over October and September. I hope you enjoy. Just want to let you guys know before the video starts, I've extended my Halloween sale through this weekend, so I'll have a link down below if you want to check it out. Now back to the compilation. And today we're going to be making some pumpkin wax melts 3 different ways. My first step is going to be measuring out some wax melt wax. I'm going to have a number that pops up on screen that tells you how much wax you'll need per pumpkin. So here's our mold. It's from Amazon and I'll have it linked down below. So I've got my wax melt wax. I'm just going to put this on my electric hot plate. So while my wax is melting, I'm going to prep my silicone mold. So the first design I'm going to do is going to have a white background and orange mica pattern on the bottom. So I have some Q-tips here, and this is what we're going to use to put our mica pattern sparkles into the silicone mold. So I'm going to use this mica pattern from Mad Micas. I'll have a link down below. And I'm going to dip my Q-tip inside. And we're basically just going to draw on the silicone mold to get the design that we want. So for this design, it's going to be orange all over the bottom of the pumpkin. So I'm just going to take my orange mica pattern and just kind of draw it in on the bottom of my pumpkin. Just make sure you get it in between all of the ridges. And I'm just going to do that one more time to this one on the right side. So here's what it looks like. And then I'm going to be pouring my white wax right over the top. So for my second design, I'm actually going to dip into my orange mica pattern again, but this time I'm going to avoid the stem of my pumpkin. Next, I'm going to be taking some green mica pattern. This is also from Mad Micas. And this is what I'm going to use to paint my stem. So still just dipping in with the Q-tip. I'm going to go right in and just draw on the stem directly. I'm just using flicking motion so it gets on there really well. It's also allowing for some green to flow over into our orange. It's almost like a vine. So here's what that one looks like. It's pretty hard to see right now because it's a green mold, but you'll see once we pop it out. And finally, our last design, I'm going to be taking some Mad Micas glitter. This one is Mermaid Trails. And I'm just going to dump it into my silicone mold. And you can still use a Q-tip to do this as well. Here's how that one looks. So I just put the glitter on the bottom of the silicone mold. So my wax melt wax has reached 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and at this point you can add whatever fragrance oil you want to use. Just make sure you mix it in well. I'm actually going to add some extra mica pattern because I have to. This is from Nature's Garden, and it's their Diamond Dust mica pattern. And I'm just going to add 1/64 teaspoon of this. I'm going to take my wax melt wax off the heat. So my wax melt wax has reached 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to pour into these top 2. And this is just going to be our basic pumpkin design with a white background. So for my next 2 designs, I'm actually going to put my picture back onto the wax melter. So for my final two designs, I actually want an orange background. So I'm going to add 1 drop of orange liquid candle dye. So now that my wax has reached 160 degrees again, I'm going to pour into my last 4 pumpkins. I'm going to let these sit overnight so they're completely solid, and I will be right back. So I let my wax melt sit overnight, and now it's time to unmold them. So here's the top one that we did. It has the white background, and then on the front is the orange mica powder. Next we have our green and orange mica powder with our orange background. This one reminds me a lot of the pumpkin candies you see around Halloween. Really cute. And finally our glitter pumpkins. And today I'm going to be making some fall wax melt bark. So my first step is going to be measuring out 5 ounces of wax, and this is so we can fill up our extra large clamshell from Aztec Candle Supply. Now that I've got my wax in my pitcher, I'm going to add this to my electric hot plate. So while my wax is melting, I'm going to prep my molds. So this is the mold I'm going to use for our brown hearts that go on our bark. This is from Amazon, I'll have it linked down below. And the pumpkin mold I'm going to be using, this is from Amazon as well, and I'll have it linked down below. So for this design, you can really pick whatever little embeds and molds that you have, just whatever you want to go on top of your bark. So we're going to pour our white onto the bottom, and then we'll add our embeds onto the top. So to my pumpkins and my hearts, I'm actually going to add a little bit of glitter. So when we pop it out of the mold, it will be glittery. So this is from Mad Micas, and it's Nina Simone's Sparkles. I'm just going to add this to the bottom of a couple pumpkins and a couple hearts. So I'm going to take a Q-tip just like I did in this video right here. And I'm just going to dip into my glitter and add it to my mold. And you can really add any kind of glitter you want, or even mica powder. It's whatever suits your taste. I'm also going to add some mermaid trails to both of them as well, just to add some chunkier glitter. I really loved how this turned out on my previous video, making the pumpkins, so I think it'll be really cute on this one as well. So now that my white wax is almost completely melted, I'm going to add some mica powder. I'm going to use Diamond Dust mica powder from Nature's Gardens, and I'm going to use about 1/64 teaspoon of this and add it to the wax. So once your white wax reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit, feel free to add any kind of fragrance oil you want. I'll have a fragrance oil that pops up on screen now that I think will be perfect for this wax melt. So my white wax has reached 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to pour into my clamshell. So I'll let the white wax solidify. I'm going to get started on my pumpkins. I'm going to measure out about 0.5 ounces of wax. And the reason I'm doing a little bit less than in my previous video is because I don't want to fill up my pumpkin to the top. I want to fill it up about halfway. So that way I don't have a pumpkin like an inch tall on top of a wax melt. This will look much better. I'm going to add this to my electric hot plate. To this wax, I'm going to add 1 drop liquid candle dye. So now that my orange dye has fully liquefied, I'm going to wait until it reaches 160 degrees, and then I'm going to pour into my pumpkin mold. So now for the hearts, you can either use brown for a more fall look, or you can use black for a more Halloween look. I'm actually going to use black because I think it will go better with the orange and the white, but you can use brown as well. So to make the hearts, I'm actually going to measure out 0.4 ounces of wax melt wax. So to this wax, I would add 1 drop black liquid candle dye or 1 drop brown liquid candle dye. So now that my black wax has melted, I'm going to pour into my hearts. I'm going to let all of my components sit overnight so they're really solid and they're not fragile when we try to put them on our actual wax melt. But you can always, if you wanted to do more hearts or more pumpkins, you can always do that, just add a little bit more wax. Alright, I let my wax melt and my pumpkins and my hearts sit overnight, and now it's ready to put it all together. So here are all my components. As you can see, the mica powder and the glitter we added really adds a lot to it. So to attach our elements, I'm going to use my heat gun and get the wax on top a little bit soft, and then I'm going to stick in our pumpkins and the hearts. So now that the top of the wax is melted a little bit, I'm going to stick in my elements and just gently press into the wax. So now that I've got my elements on top, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun again just to make sure it's all together. At this point, you can also add more mica powder or glitter. I'm just going to sprinkle in some of the same sparkles I used earlier. Just dump them on top. So I'm going to let this really solidify, and I'm also going to knock a little bit of the sparkles off, and I will be right back. Just be really careful when you're using the heat gun, as the connection between the little squares gets weaker. But here it is. And you can also always add more glitter of different colors on top too, just whatever you like to do. And today I'm going to be making a candy corn wax melt. So for step 1, I'm going to measure out 1 ounce of wax melt wax, and this is for a extra large clamshell from Aztec Candle Supply. I'll have it linked down below. It's about double the size of a regular clamshell. So I'll need 1 ounce of wax melt wax for our white layer. I'm going to add my wax to my electric hot plate. So to my wax, I'm actually going to add some mica powder. I use Nature's Garden's Diamond Dust Mica Powder. I'm going to add 1/2 of 1/64 teaspoon. So while my wax is melting, I'm actually going to place a paper towel down in case there's any spills, and I'm going to put down my extra large clamshell. So my wax is fully melted. I'm going to take it off the heat. I'm going to let my wax cool to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we will be ready to pour into the clamshell. So my wax has cooled and I'm ready to pour. I'm going to pour a small amount into each of the 6 cells. I'm going to let this layer fully cool, and I'll be right back. So now that my white wax has fully solidified, I'm going to measure out my orange wax. So for my orange layer of wax, I'm going to need 2.5 ounces of wax melt wax. I'm going to add my wax onto my electric hot plate. To this wax, I'm going to add some more mica powder, and this time I'm going to use the entire 1/64 teaspoon. So once your wax is fully melted and has reached 200 degrees Fahrenheit, feel free to add whatever kind of fragrance oil you'd like to. I have one that pops up on screen that I think would be great for these. I'll also have it linked down below. I'm also going to add 1 drop orange liquid candle dye. I'm going to take my wax off the electric hot plate. I'm going to let my wax cool to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or less, and I will be right back. So my wax is cooled and I'm ready to pour. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the white and just add a little bit to each of the cells. I'm going to let my orange wax fully solidify and I will be right back. Now that my orange wax has fully solidified, I'm going to measure out my yellow wax. I'm going to measure out 1.9 ounces of wax melt wax for my yellow color. So now to this wax, I'm going to add some mica powder again and some yellow wax melt dye. I'm going to add 1/2 of 1/64 teaspoon of mica powder. You can also add that same fragrance oil you used earlier when the wax gets to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So now that my wax has cooled to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to pour over my orange. I'm going to let my wax melt sit overnight and I will be right back. Okay, I've let my wax melt sit overnight and now it's time to unmold it. I am so excited. It looks really cool from the side. I'm going to be making some Halloween cookie wax melts 3 different ways. So for step 1, you need to pick out whatever silicone mold you're going to use for your cookie base. So I have some extra large hearts. This is going to be one of my designs. And also I'm thinking I can use my candle lid off my candles, add some aluminum foil, I'll scrunch it up to try to get a cookie design. And I'll add that right in there. Making sure I don't get any holes in it when I press down. And I think I'm going to actually leave this in this lid so it's more secure. I'm actually going to wipe out my heart mold with some alcohol. So my first step is going to be measuring out my brown wax. This is going to be the base of our larger cookies and our heart-shaped cookies. I'll have a number that pops up on screen that lets you know how much wax you need per large cookie and how much wax you need per heart cookie. To this wax, I'm going to add 1 drop liquid yellow candle dye and 1 drop brown liquid candle dye. I'm actually going to add 2 drops of brown. I accidentally added 3, but that's okay, it'll just be a darker brown color. So just adjust for how much brown you want in your cookie base. I'm going to add my wax to my electric hot plate. I'm also going to add some mica powder. I use the Diamond Dust mica powder from Nature's Gardens. I'm going to use 1/64 teaspoon of this. So once your wax reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit, feel free to add whatever fragrance oil you want to. I'll have one that pops up on screen that I think would be great for these, and I'll also have it linked down below. So once your fragrance oil is mixed in, you can take it off the heat. I'm going to let my wax cool to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or less, and then we're ready to pour into our molds. So my wax has cooled to about 155 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to pour into my hearts. I'm actually not going to fill these up all the way, unless you want to do that, but I'm going to fill them up about halfway. And then here is my large cookie. I'm going to let these fully solidify, and I'll be right back. So while my cookie base is solidifying, I'm going to actually prep my embeds that are going to go on top. So for my bleeding heart cookie, I'm going to use these hearts in this mold from Amazon. For my ghost, I'm going to use this ghost right here. I got this from Marshall's. Marshalls and places like that are really good for finding silicone molds, as long as they can withstand some heat, because they're normally a lot cheaper than if you bought them on Amazon, and they normally have really cool designs. And finally, this is the pumpkin mold. This is also from Amazon, and as you can see, they've got little faces. So really cute. I'll have all those linked down below, and if I can find this one, I'll have this linked down below. So we're basically just going to add wax of the colors that we want into these. So I'm going to get these prepped on some paper towels. So here they are, all lined up. I'm going to clean these off with some more alcohol, and then we are ready to make some wax. So the first one I'm going to get ready is for these little pumpkins. I'll have a number that pops up on screen that tells you about how much wax approximately each one of these pumpkins will need. I'm just going to add a little bit of wax to my pitcher because I don't really think we'll need that much. I'm going to get this melting. I'm going to add 1 drop of liquid orange candle dye. I'm also going to add some mica powder. This time I'm going to use 1/2 of the 1/64 teaspoon. So my orange wax is fully melted. I'm going to take it off the heat, and I'm going to let it cool to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So my wax is cooled and I'm ready to pour. Next is going to be my ghost. I'm going to add a little bit of wax to my pitcher. I'll have another number that pops up on screen that tells you how much wax you'll need per ghost. To this wax, I'm going to add some more mica powder. I'm going to use 1/2 of a 1/64 teaspoon. I'm going to take my wax off the melter. I'm going to let my white wax cool to 160 degrees or less. So I've let my wax cool, and now I'm going to pour into my ghost. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the hearts, and I'm not going to fill it up all the way. I'm going to fill it up about halfway. And we're going to make the hearts, and I'm also going to get my red drizzle ready. I'm going to add a small amount of wax to my pitcher again. I'll have another number that pops up on screen that tells you how much you'll need per heart mold. I'm going to add some mica powder one more time. I'm going to use 1/2 of 1/64 teaspoon. I'm also going to add 1 drop liquid red candle dye. I'm going to take my pitcher off the heat, and I'm going to let my red wax cool to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or less. So now that my wax is cool, I'm going to pour into my little hearts. I'm actually going to let all of my components sit overnight, and I will be right back. So I let my elements sit overnight, and now it's time to unmold all of them. I'm actually going to leave my hearts in there. We're going to work with these in the mold. So here is our aluminum foil makeshift cookie. I'm actually going to cover up the top with some white wax so it's not so ugly looking. I think I would just recommend maybe not crinkling up the aluminum foil as much as I did to keep some more parts flatter, but it looks pretty good. For these hearts, I'm actually going to melt down the red wax from yesterday, remelt it down, and then I will use a pipette and kind of make some red icing. So I've melted my red wax again, and I'm going to take a pipette and just squeeze some out on my cookies. While this is still liquid, I'm going to add my hearts. And if you want to, you can drizzle over them a little bit too. And if you want to, you can also add some glitter. This is from Mad Micas. I'll have it linked down below. And this can kind of act like your sprinkles to your cookies. I'm going to unmold it now that I've let it cool down. So my next step is going to be melting down some white wax. It's going to be our white icing for our cookie that we made with the aluminum foil. And I'm also going to put some on the other two hearts. While I've got my white wax melting, I'm going to get my pitcher for my brown wax from yesterday, and I'm going to make another of these aluminum foil cookies. And this time, instead of creaking out the aluminum foil a lot, I'm going to try to keep it a lot flatter. Just like that. So my next step for these cookies is I'm going to melt down some white wax, and that's going to be our frosting. To my frosting, I'm going to add some more mica powder. I'm going to use 1/64 teaspoon. So once your white wax is melted and reached 200 degrees Fahrenheit, feel free to add whatever fragrance oil you want to. So while my white wax is melting, I'm actually going to unmold this other brown cookie. This one is going to have our little ghost on top. So my white wax is melted, and I'm going to use another pipette and pipette some icing onto the cookies. While my white is still liquidy on these, I'm going to add our pumpkins. I'm also going to add more mermaid trails. And now for my big cookies. Now for my ghost. I'm just going to use a little bit of the white just as a glue, and then stick him right on there. I think I'm actually going to go around him a little bit, put some more white down so he looks like he's got a little bit of icing. And finally, my last step, this is optional. I'm going to take some black liquid candle dye, put it on a Q-tip, and I'm basically going to paint in the eyes and the mouth of our ghost, and the eyes and the mouth and the nose of our pumpkins. Before that color gets stuck, I'm going to wipe off the top with a paper towel. I'm actually just going to do the mouth on the pumpkin, or the ghost. I don't think I can get in there to the eyes. I'm going to try it with this guy. And take some more paper towel and dab off the top. I'm going to do these little guys too. I'm going to let all these guys fully cool down and I will be right back. So let everything cool down. Time to take out cookies. And if this happens to you, just melt a little bit of wax or use a heat gun and just stick it right back on. And today I'm going to be making a Halloween heart candle. So for step 1, I'm going to be making my heart embeds. So this wax is definitely different from the wax I normally use. I think this is called Hurricane Embed Wax, but I'll have a link down below for sure. And this is a harder wax. It's going to go on top of the candles. And as you can see with my own personal products, the pumpkins on top use this exact same wax. And the reason I like this wax is because it is a harder wax and it will last longer on our candle. So I'm going to get this melting and I'll be right back. I'm going to turn this up to about 250 degrees. While this wax is melting, I'm going to prep my heart mold. So these molds are from Amazon. They've got little teardrops, clouds, and hearts. I'll have these linked down below. So basically all we're going to do is get our hurricane wax melted, and then I'm going to pour rows of different colors. So I think for this candle I'm going to use orange, black, and I might do white. And then once these embeds are fully cooled, we can start on our candle. So my first heart color is going to be white. I'm not going to have to add any color, so we can just stay with the base color of this wax. I'm just going to add a little bit to the bottom of the pitcher because these hearts are so small. I'm going to add a little bit of mica powder to my wax. This is Nature's Garden's Diamond Dust Mica Powder. Probably a 1/64 teaspoon. I'll get that mixed in there. I'm going to let the wax cool just a little bit, and then I'm going to pour into my hearts. While my white wax is still liquid, I'm going to add a drop of orange liquid candle dye. I'm going to add a little bit more wax. I'm going to get that mixed in there. Then I'm going to pour into my heart molds. And finally, into this same pitcher, I'm going to add 1 drop black liquid candle dye and 1 drop red liquid candle dye. I'm also not washing this out in between, since we went from the white to orange. It's okay if the black has orange in it because I think black is all the color, so having orange in it will be fine. So I'm going to add 1 drop black liquid candle dye. This is from Nature's Gardens. Just going to add that right in there. And I'm going to add 1 drop red. The reason I'm adding 1 drop red is because it's going to make our black less like gray and more like black. So add 1 drop of this. Feel like I'm making a concoction. I'm going to get that wax on the bottom heated back up with a heat gun because there's still plenty of wax for the amount of hearts that we need. So I've got that all melted down. I'm going to mix it up. Still using this same spoon. I think I'm going to add 1 drop more of the black just to make sure that it's really black. Now it's ready to pour into the hearts. I'm going to let all my embeds sit for a few hours, or you can let it sit overnight so they're really solid, but I will be right back. So I've let all my embeds sit overnight and they're ready to pop out of the mold. And while I'm doing this, I actually have my wax melter going. And you might want to do that as well if you have a big wax melter like I do. So now that I've got all my embeds ready, I'm just going to set these all to the side. So our next step is going to be prepping our jar. I've already sprayed this down with isopropyl alcohol. Comment below if you've seen this video. I sprayed it down, I've got it cleaned out with some paper towels, and I'm going to wrap it in some aluminum foil. So I've got my aluminum foil here. I actually do this with all my candles and it helps prevent bubbles from forming on the side. They will eventually, it will keep it a solid color for longer. So I'm going to get my wooden wick placer. I'll have a link down below to these. This is 3D printed and it perfectly fits on basically whatever jar that you want to have and any kind of wicks and all that. So I'll have a link down below to this. These are the wicks I'm going to use today. Makesy Crackling Single Ply Wick, and this one is the 0.625 width with the 0.02 thickness wooden wicks. And I'm also going to get some wick tabs. These are from Aztec Candle Supply. Basically any wood wicks will work. What I'm going to do is get my wooden wick and try to place this exactly in the center of my wick. Just like that. Wooden wick placer sticker thing. Here are my stickers. Also from Aztec, I'm pretty sure. But what I do is I just take it off. And then I place this right in the center. And then before I put it into the aluminum foil, I'm going to place on a really flat surface, get my wooden wick placer tool, put it into my jar, and then I peel off the sticker, and I actually put it on the end, on this end, and then I'm holding it right here, so when it goes down it's not at the bottom yet. Place it down, and I kind of just finagle it, and sometimes if you did a good job getting it centered, it'll just fall right down to the bottom. Then what I do is I take my little base part and I gently press on the metal so it's really stuck. And that's how I do that. And then I get my aluminum foil. I've actually taken the aluminum foil and basically made it to the shape of these candles because these are what I use for my business. And just slide it right into there. I'll have all of the products I just used to do this down below. So the fragrance oil I've got for today's candle is from Aztec Candle Supply, and it is the Pumpkin Peanut Brittle BBW type. And I'll have a link down below to go to this. So now for my candle wax, I'm going to pour from up here from my wax melter, you kind of see me, down into my pitcher, and I'm going to need 10 ounces of wax. I'm going to use 10%. You don't have to go as high as that, but this is 1 ounce, so I'm going to use this whole bottle on 10 ounces of wax. I'm also going to add 1/64 teaspoon of mica powder, and this is going to give it that really pretty sparkle effect. So now that my wax is fully mixed in, I'm going to hit my jar with the heat gun. So now that my jar is heated up and my wax is completely mixed in, it's ready to pour. I'm going to use this metal spoon, and this is going to also keep some bubbles out of this. And I'm just lifting the spoon as I go to continue to break the fall. I'm going to let my candle fully solidify, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back the next day, and today it's time to make our final candle. So I'm just going to take off the aluminum foil, just like that. As you can see, no bubbles. I'm also going to trim this wick. Now with wicks like this, I would just do like a triangle type motion. So do one like this, and sometimes it snaps off like this, but normally I'll go like this. Just to remove a lot of it. Since we're going to be adding our hearts, we need to remove this so we can actually have access to the top of the candle. Next, I'm going to use a heat gun, and this is going to make sure that this is completely level before we put our hearts down. So now that I've got that sort of flat, instead of already putting my embeds onto the wax, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. You have to let this layer completely solidify, especially if you use this IGI. Now, soy wax might be a little bit different, but I'm going to let this fully cool down, and then once we put the embeds, instead of wax like getting pushed up and it looking really ugly and having the heat gun and then the embeds melting and stuff, I'm going to let this completely solidify, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've let it fully cool down. I'm going to add my hearts. I'm just going to try to place these randomly in, but not putting two colors right beside each other. And I'm just going to gently press them down about halfway. As you can see, no wax is slipping and sliding around, and it's not coming up on the side, so that looks good. I'll just put a white one here and do the same thing. Press it down about halfway. Just like that. I'm just going to continue this until the whole top is filled up. So now that I've got my embeds on the top, I'm going to trim my wig. Also, I have this link down below. This is really handy. It's not exactly a candle making tool, but it works perfect for wooden wigs. I'm sort of going to leave my wig pretty tall because we have so many embeds on the top. There it is. And today I'm going to be making a Beetlejuice inspired mica powder candle. So for step one, I'm actually going to turn on my wax melter. If you got a Presto pot or anything like that, go ahead and get it turned on and started melting. Our next step is going to be getting our hurricane wax melting. This is going to be our green sludge that's around the inside of our candle. So I'm going to get my Presto pot, plug it in, and get that heated to about 250 degrees. And it should melt pretty quickly. While this is melting, I'm going to get my candle jar ready. I've already sprayed it with some isopropyl alcohol. So it's all clean and ready for our wick. So for today's candle, I'm going to be using the single ply 0.625 with wooden wicks from Makesy. I'll have these linked down below. I've also got an affiliate link down below if you guys shop at Makesy. But I'm going to try out this wig and just make sure whatever fragrance oil, if you want to make these for your business or to give to friends and family, make sure you do some testing before you give it to them. So here's the wig. So speaking of fragrance oil, today I'm going to try out Aztec Candle Supply Black Raspberry Vanilla Fragrance Oil. The fragrance oil last week I used in this video was absolutely perfect. I really enjoyed it. So if you want to check out the other one, I recommend it. I think the wick last week was a little bit overwicked, but just do your testing with whatever jar you use. You can really do this design on whatever size jar you want. Just make sure you're making them safely. So while I'm prepping my candle, I actually have a question for you guys. Have you guys seen the new Beetlejuice? Do you like it? Do you just like the old one? Let me know your thoughts down below. I've seen the old one, but I would like to go see the new one. I think it would be a perfect movie to go watch right around the end of October. So I forgot to record prepping my candle. So I'm just going to do it all over again just so you guys can see. So I took my wooden wick and my wick tab, placed it into my metal wick tab. Then I placed the sticker right on top. I put my wooden wick into the bottom of the wooden wick tab, or wooden wick placer, turned it over, went like this, and it was in there. But I will link to the video from last week that is much more thorough than this. I don't know why I keep forgetting to record things, but for more of a clear explanation, you can go to this video. And then I place it into my aluminum foil. I am so sorry, you guys. So I'm going to pour just a little bit of wax into this pitcher. It should be plenty. So I just turned off my Presto pot and poured some wax into my pitcher. It's okay if it turns solid. I'm going to get some green. So for this candle, I want it to be a very, let's just say, boogery color sludge on the side. So I've got a yellow and blue candle dye from Nature's Gardens. These are really great candle dyes. They're very potent. So I'm going to add 2 drops yellow because I want it to be more of a nasty color. So add 2 drops of this. And 1 drop blue, and this is going to make our green. I'm going to heat down the top of my wax and probably add some mica powder as well. I'm going to add probably 1/2 64 teaspoon. This is from Nature's Garden. It is the Diamond Dust mica powder. I have a link down below. And just 1/2 of a 1/64 teaspoon. So I've got my green wax all ready, and I'm going to take a pipette and basically just strip along the sides of the candle. So I covered it in green. I think the hurricane wax worked pretty well because it was solidifying on the candle jar. I didn't heat gun like I normally do. So yeah, I think that looks really good. I think it will look really good with the stripes. So my next step is going to be measuring out 5 ounces of black wax and 5 ounces of white wax. So I've got my candle wax melted in my electric heater. And I'm going to kind of use my pitcher and then guide it down to my scale. So I'm going to get 5 ounces of wax. Make sure that this is zeroed out. And guide it right to the scale. So I'm going to add 1 drop black liquid candle dye. And 1 drop of red liquid candle dye. The reason I am adding the red is because it's going to make our black a deeper color and more like black and less like gray. I'm also going to add 1/2 of my 1 ounce bottle of fragrance oil. Make sure you measure this when you do this. So I'm going to need 0.5 ounces of this. Since we have 5 ounces of wax, and you can actually keep your pitcher on your scale and then measure from here. And I'm going to mix this in. I'm actually going to add it to my electric hot plate because this is cooled down too much. While I've got this heating up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to add my mica powder. I'm going to add 1/2 of 1/64 teaspoon. And then to my other pitcher of white, I'll add another 1/2 of 1/64 teaspoon. So a little bit will go a long way. While I'm looking at my wax, I'm actually going to add another drop of black because it looks like burgundy. So I'm going to add 1 more drop. So I took my wax off the heat and I'm going to let it cool to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And make sure your fragrance oil is mixed in. You'll probably know when it's mixed in when the wax is less cloudy looking and it looks more like a clear consistency. So my wax is about 170 and I'm going to pour about half of it into my candle jar. We'll add the other half after our next layer of white. My wax still looks burgundy, so we're going to see what happens. It might be burgundy and white and green candle instead of black and white. So we're going to see. I don't think I've ever made an actually black candle, so this is just kind of a test run. I'm going to try my best, but it might not be absolutely black. I think black is the trickiest color to get when you're making candles. I'm going to let this layer completely cool down and I will be right back. So I let my first layer sit overnight. It's pretty dark. It's like a really dark purple, almost black color. So that's pretty good. And now I'm going to do my white layer. So once again, I'm going to measure out 5 ounces of wax. I'm going to put my wax I just poured onto my electric hot plate. And before I put any fragrance oil in, I'm going to get my wax up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. While my wax is heating up, I'm going to add some more mica powder. I'm going to use 1/2 of a 1/64 teaspoon. Into this wax, we don't need to add any kind of color. We just want the base color of the wax, which is white. So my wax has reached 200 degrees. I'm going to take it off my heat. I'm going to add the remainder of my fragrance oil. And get that all mixed in. So now that my fragrance oil is mixed in, I'm going to let my wax cool to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So my wax has cooled and I am ready to pour. And I'm going to use about half of our white wax. I'm going to let this layer fully solidify and I'll be right back. So I've let my white layer completely solidify and I'm going to reheat my black wax. So I got my wax melted and I'm just going to pour the remaining black wax into the candle. I'm going to let this layer fully solidify and I'll be right back. Finally, for our final layer, I'm going to add my white wax back onto my electric hot plate. So my white wax is melted and cooled down to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit and I'm going to pour into my candle. I'm going to let this layer fully solidify and I'll be right back. So I let my final layer fully solidify. It's time to take it out. Oh my goodness. That looks really gross looking. I'm going to trim my wick. I like to do that, and then I will take this. It's really quick and easy. I'm going to hit the top of this with the heat gun to kind of get some of the green wax I have around the side. to go into the white so it's a little bit more colorful on top. I'm going to let it solidify one more time and I will be right back. So here is our Beetlejuice candle. I think if I had to go back and change anything, I would do separate batches so these are all more evenly spread, but I think it looks pretty cool and pretty gnarly. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're interested, my website will be linked down below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys next Thursday.